News from the world. Bulletin 1933. A young buck named Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany, promising great change for the German people. Surely nothing bad can come from this. In entertainment news, audiences are wowed by the audacity of King Kong, perhaps a sign of the darkness hidden within all of us. Bulletin 2001. Young buck George W. Bush signs the Patriot Act into law. Surely nothing bad can come from this. Meanwhile, crowds cheer the height of the animals doing human things film craze as Jack the Chimp 360 ollies into our hearts. One thing we can say for sure, when things look bleak, put a monkey on a screen. We watch King Kong and MVP2 Most Vertical Primate.
Ah, the French champagne.
Can you tell me which members of the Reservoir Dogs you two are currently dressed as?
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Classic.
Classic Spielberg.
Classic Spielberg.
He needs to kill 94 different 65-year-old men over 2.5 years because those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Shake it! Shake it!
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is... Oh, Sean, I don't even know why we do the rest of the podcast. We should definitely at some point just release a compilation of Sean's intros.
Yeah.
Because they are the majority of what could be classified as like artistry that comes out of this podcast without question.
They also probably are the majority of like the listeners that we see that don't listen through the entire episode. Like the reason why they don't probably.
But they're so good. And I will honestly say, Sean, I know I've said this before, but that was without question your best one yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was good.
There have been some greats though. I have to listen back, but it was definitely up there. Definitely a real hit. And I think it's true. You probably act as a bit of a filter for our listeners. Like it's like either they're in after the intro or they are out. And you know what? That is totally okay with me.
Yeah.
I only want the people who love your intros. If they don't love your intros, I don't want them listening to this podcast. You know,
yeah. You
like
heard it.
everyone
You
else.
heard it here.
It's funny though because it's a terrible filter because his intro sets up a totally different podcast than the one that we deliver. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, welcome those that have survived the filter to
The great filtering.
The great filtering to Citizen Kane versus, where we compare a movie that is considered to be more of a classic against a movie that is considered to be more on the schlocky side, and we ask ourselves honestly, which is better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my two friends, one
Sean Jacklin.
and
Daniel Benoit.
Are you going to edit sound between that? What was that for?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think. I was gonna do a monkey
panicked.
sound. I did panic. I was gonna do like a thing, and then it didn't. I
Okay,
did panic.
so edit that out of that, copy it, and just slide it into the silence.
Or can you edit in? Can you edit before the podcast when Sean quietly told his cat to shut up? Could you put that in just before you speak?
Oh yeah, it all stays. It all stays.
So yeah, and as you probably caught, hopefully from Sean's fantastic intro, the movies this week are the 1933 classic King Kong. What a classic! Versus, arguably another classic, but somehow it's on the schlocky list here.
You shut your whore mouth, Jack.
MVP2, Most Vertical Primate.
Don't you dare ever call that movie a classic again, you son of a bitch.
You know, it's debatable what that word even means, right?
Yeah,
so
especially
maybe,
this week, I think.
Yeah. And the link being animals named Jack in the movies, is that right?
Yes.
Just is that right?
Ooh, interesting. Interesting take.
I know, right? Yeah. No, the link is primates.
Yeah.
Is that right, Sean?
Monkeys that do things, I guess. Apes
Like
that do things.
Skillful apes.
Skillful apes, yeah.
That's
There we
a
go.
link you don't often get in movies.
Would we
Unless-
call King Kong skillful? I guess so. He's a pretty
pretty
badass
skillful.
fighter, and he
Yeah.
climbs
He's like
things
full
really good.
MMA
Yeah.
fighter in this movie.
Yeah,
That's true.
Some of those
That's true.
takedowns.
He had like a hip throw here and there.
He
Nice
did do a
hook.
single leg takedown earlier in the
He
film.
does
Yeah.
do like
He
a
did.
single leg takedown in this movie,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
he?
It's pretty
Yeah.
impressive, actually.
Yeah, to like the T-Rex or something. And then some BJJ. So, Sean, these were pretty fun to watch. I
Lies.
No, look, I'm not saying they
Lies,
were.
man.
I'm not. Dan,
King
The
Kong,
man
maybe.
who made us watch Bucky Larson.
You know what, Sean? You know what? I was
That
thinking
movie-
about how much
that's
you
the most
protested
important
Bucky
movie in
Larson.
Dan's life.
No, it isn't. But I was thinking about how much you protested Bucky Larson the entire time that I was watching MVP, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck Sean so much." That
Wow.
MVP was barely a movie.
Whoa. I mean,
I
yes,
mean,
but
yes,
like
that's true.
Bucky Larson. We're
Oh,
not
how dare
relitigating
you.
Bucky.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll fight about this later.
One thing I'll say, and this isn't a spoiler in any way, I was able to laugh at MVP though with that certain je ne sais quoi that only schlock can bring to the table. Where like I would laugh at what they were doing. Like they would do something, and we'll have so many examples to talk about as we go through these movies of things that I would just laugh at the movie.
Likewise with King Kong, there were moments where I was doubled over laughing
Yeah.
because of the choices they made.
Yeah. Yeah. So, without any further ado, Dan, why don't you give us a very unbiased rundown of synopses for these movies?
I actually debated not writing anything for these two, but
All right.
all right, here we go.
Really? I had a bet. Okay, whatever. I'll say it.
Shut up, Jack. Here we go. I hate myself for doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the time has come. The moment you've all been waiting for. The battle for the World Heavyweight Championship. In the red corner, representing the classics. A beast that is forced to fight for his life after a group of greedy white men infiltrate his home island, capture him, and bring him back to North America as the next big sideshow attraction. Coming in at 100 minutes, the 1933 smash hit, King Kong.
Yeah.
And in the blue corner, representing the schlock. An unusually athletic chimp that befriends a young orphan boy and decides to take up skateboarding after being kicked out of his hockey league for biting a player, allegedly. It runs 87 minutes but feels like 3 days. MVP2 Most Vertical Primate.
Yeah. Woo! How can you not laugh at that summary? It's so good.
Perfect.
Friend's an orphan boy.
Yeah.
After getting kicked off his hockey team.
Oh my god.
Ooh, boy, it's just there's something beautiful about it.
There is
shot-
nothing beautiful
And
about it.
half of the movie is shot in like the same alleyway. It's amazing.
In Vancouver.
In Vancouver, what is blatantly Vancouver?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Ooh, well, should we dive into it?
Let's do it. So, starting off, round one, story good. Sound goes here. No, it goes at the end of the rounds. Whatever.
At the beginning of the fight too, right?
Yeah, it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm just
So-
gonna put it like intermittently throughout the rounds. Actually,
Great.
So I'm gonna-
Can you make it so that it starts string but cuts every time we keep fucking up and talking
yes,
over?
100%.
Yeah, like a question mark ring. Like ding?
One's gonna go right here, actually, in the middle of this conversation.
Um,
So
Dan-
story good.
yeah, Dan.
Story good.
Tell
Yes.
us how good the story is in MVP to start.
Okay. Well, at first, I guess I'll ask you, what story are you referring to? Is it the
The
This-
Like the
beautiful
classic
story.
hero's journey that we
Yeah.
see.
classic hero's journey of the monkey that I think has Parkinson's? That like.
What?
Did you not notice that every time it cut back to him, he was just kind of like like slightly jittering and like shaking?
Yeah,
That's
I
him
think-
nodding.
That's what?
That's him nodding.
No, he's
Look,
not
I
nodding
thought-
every time.
I thought Patrick Stewart's performance as Jack the Chimp was fantastic.
Oh my
Inspired.
god, that would
But
make
that's
my
rad.
heart. That would make my heart explode if I saw Patrick Stewart playing Jack the Chimp.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's weird. So it's weird because it's a chimp, and it's a trained chimp, very well trained.
Very well trained.
Yeah, that the stuff that monkey can do is incredibly impressive, I will say.
Yeah, to a degree that it also makes me uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know, that like this like regimented life I think that this chimp must live, and like it walks on just its hind legs, which it looks like is hurting it eventually, because
Yeah.
like chimps are supposed to use all their
Yeah.
limbs to move, and it's like been trained to like clomp around.
Well, that's what I kind of found unsettling about just looking at the monkey, was that he's supposed to be this athletic prodigy of an animal, but he looks like he has the body of like a 95-year-old monkey. Like everything is like doubled over, and it looks like it's kind of creaking, and he's shaking all the time.
I think that's just
why-
being a chimpanzee, Daniel.
I just want you to,
I don't
I was
know,
really
man.
hoping in
Louis
the
looked
part,
a lot more comfortable.
yeah.
He did. He did.
I was hoping, because kind of what you're saying, Dan, about how Jack did look in the movie, that like in the downturn in the epic story, when he runs away from his hockey team because he was framed for biting another player,
Yeah.
and he like there's like lots of shots of him running through the same alleyway, and his teammates running around all night trying to find him for like days.
For days.
But he hides in a dumpster full of like cardboard shreddings.
Yeah. In the
And I-
darkest moment in a children's animal film I've ever seen.
Like just his face like
Yeah.
revealed. Like they buried that chimp. Like they had the chimp sitting there and they buried it. But I was
They might
hoping-
have well have had him say like, "Oh, life's not worth it. I might as well die here," or something.
Well, I was hoping it was going to go into like a dark downward spiral of the chimp developing like a drug habit.
Yeah.
And like getting hooked on smack.
Like they
And it's
could
like,
have done that.
Jack, you have to. We're here for you. You know, and
And then
he
the orphan
saved-
boy like discovers him in like a little cardboard hut that he's built for himself where he's living, and then
Yeah.
saves his life. through
That's what I
friendship
want.
and
That's the
skateboarding.
movie that I
Yeah.
want for sure.
And like, given the choices they made in this, that probably was a draft. Like,
It kind of seems
Well,
like it,
well,
like
you're-
some sort of
to-
dark homeless turn.
But
Yeah.
to say that, Sean, you are implying that there was probably more than one draft of this script, which I have a really hard time believing.
Yeah, because you know the script for this movie is they write down all the tricks that the chimp can do, and then they string them together
yeah.
into a collection of shots, and
I-
then cut it into a movie with inspirational music.
Agreed. There is no script. I will say I was flummoxed when he starts skateboarding, and I was like, okay, so they're like holding him or something, or like
No, he's
they
really
tied
skateboarding.
him to the board, or they like tied his feet to the board for sure, so that he could like turn it and maneuver it. But like,
Are you sure?
pretty
Did you look
sure.
that up, or
I didn't look it up, but I was like I was trying to look at his feet on the board and like the way he
I
was
think that
pulling
if you
it.
tie somebody to a skateboard, it might actually cause more damage than not, like if they fall over.
Oh, for sure. I don't think they cared because it was chimp.
kind of? But it's the star of their movie. Like they
Yeah,
gotta
I bet they took every safety precaution they needed to make sure that chimp was fine.
I love
Well-
the part where they don't know what different chimps look like, and they
my
mistake
God.
Louis for Jack, and they think he's he's going to play hockey real well.
The
like,
chimp that's
you
half the
lost
size of the
45
original.
pounds.
Yeah. And your jersey still fits somehow.
Yeah.
Also,
it's like,
sidebar
it's clearly
question:
a different thing.
Why are all the hockey players in this movie wearing pants on the ice?
I know. Oh my God.
What is with the
weird, right?
sweatpants?
It's horrible.
Like
And also,
parachute
what-
pants.
Also, what does ZHL stand for? See, I think that I
We need to
did
watch the
myself
first
a dis. Yeah, I feel like I was missing a lot by not having seen the first movie.
We needed
that would
the
have like
background.
that would
A
have tied
lot
together a
might be
lot
a
of stuff for
stretch.
me. A lot of like pieces of the puzzle might have fallen into place. The
Yeah.
movie started and I was like, where are we? What is a ZHL? Who are all these characters I'm supposed to know?
Well, and because
You know?
so this movie about a skateboarding chimp is also, I want to make clear, mostly about a hockey playing chimp still. The first 30 minutes, like I actually stopped the movie after 20 minutes and was like, okay, wait, Miranda, wait, and looked up and skipped ahead a couple times, and I skipped ahead to near the end, and it was another hockey scene, and I was like, is this the wrong movie? Like we've watched 20 minutes of the wrong friggin' movie, and then I realized that it actually was. It's just mostly hockey still.
I did the same thing. I had to like get up and check my computer to make sure that I was watching the sequel because I thought I was just watching the hockey player one. I also thought it was funny that it focuses on a hockey playing chimp, and like the chimp is not even that good at hockey. Like it's to watch the shots of him on the ice.
He's a playmaker.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. He's the glue that holds a team together, apparently.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long. I was like, so are they gonna like body check this little chimp? Like, how long? And then they do finally have some sort of thing where someone like tackles. I mean, after the chimp also does like really illegal things like tripping people and doing like a spin attack.
Yeah, and they all do like triple Lutz figure skating moves to like take out their opponents. Yeah.
Yeah. Hockey. It must stand for like the Zany Hockey League or something. Like
Zoo Hockey League.
The zoo. Like, it'd be funny if every team had a different animal.
Yeah. It was mandated.
There's just like a giraffe. Anyway. Yeah. And also I want to make it clear that this movie also only has half of a script, because most of the scenes are someone talking to an animal that cannot speak. So there's a lot of scenes that you're like, it's like, what do you think, Jack? And then it cuts to just like a blank chimp's face, and he does a gesture maybe, and then it cuts back to them, and they're like, yeah, maybe you're right. I should try harder. And then it cuts back to like a silent chimp, and then it cuts back to someone. Like, it's really weird, and the pacing sucks as a result.
The first 20 minutes is a century.
Oh man, with their trainer, like all of those scenes where she's clearly just delivering them to nobody, and then they would film the chimp separately and cut it together. Like, oh, it's brutal, man.
Oh, right. I forgot about that whole section where they're like watching the GHL draft on TV. And,
oh my god.
Yeah,
and
it's
they lock,
awful.
and Louis locks the door, and Jack is like, oh man.
And she's like, I'm gonna count to 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, and I was like, kill me now.
Yep.
Well, I will say I wasn't as shocked by the chimp checking as I was by what is the third scene of King Kong, where our female protagonist just walks onto a ship and immediately gets hit in the face.
Yeah, by the other end.
Great.
Yeah,
it's great. The female prop, as I think we should continue to call her for this film.
Oh my god, man. Yeah.
I mean, I will give the film credit for like acknowledging that she is the female prop in the movie. It isn't like a thing that just we have to like.
Do they acknowledge it?
We have to,
I mean,
yes.
I guess they say
the film
like,
director says I
fair.
have to put a woman in this, a flapper in the movie because Hollywood wants romance. You think I'd want to cart a woman around otherwise? She's definitely a prop.
Yeah. There were definite moments in this film where I was wondering if I was watching some very like progressive meta movie where everyone is a misogynist and everyone is a racist, while simultaneously unleashing this primitive prehistoric thing from the jungle, meaning like their prehistoric base urges kind of thing. Is that what they're saying? But no, I think it was just written by racists and misogynists.
For sure, but there is that still that underlying message though of like the people who go to the island being the actual animals and being the ones that suck, right?
Yes,
so
for sure.
Not excusing the behavior because that was very indicative of just what people said and did in the 30s. But that is still a central message of the movie, right? Is that these people are the bad guys.
Yeah. I was, maybe I just prepared myself like maybe too much. I was really worried about how racist this movie was going to be, and it wasn't as racist as I thought. Still quite. We had black people as like pseudo savages. As it were,
Mexicans
you know what I mean? Like,
playing black, at least like a couple of the main tribal leaders were just Mexican people. They
is that a fact, or are you?
Yeah, I looked up the like chief's name. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like I was ready for so much blackface, and there wasn't much that I could tell. At least like they were black people, and like the way that the white characters interacted with them was pretty like like, oh, they're here. They're doing this. Like it wasn't. They weren't like, oh, look at these dummy. Like it wasn't too. It was kind of like more on a level. But like, I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying
For the
I was
30s?
prepared.
Sure, maybe.
That's what I mean. Like I was really, really preparing myself for a lot. Instead, we just got.
But then there's the Asian character.
We got the cook.
Yeah.
Yes, he's awful.
Who says Blackfist?
He says Blackfist?
Blackfist.
Right.
So,
now I have to ask, and this is a serious question. This isn't me being facetious, because I was wondering this while I was watching the movie. The storyline is that a group of Westerners find this like remote island where this, for all intents and purposes, primitive tribe has been existing without contact with any other civilization ever.
Yeah.
Except for like the Norwegian vessel that was there before.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But the fact is still that they've been there pretty much contactless from everybody else forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it racist then to assume that they would be black, considering that they're in like a tropical part of the world? And,
I was wondering where exactly they were for all of these, like probably what they were trying to depict as like African people to be on this island. And
well, just given what they were wearing and the fact that there's a lot of like jungle.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was Africa, but it definitely implies that it's a hotter climate.
Which, like somewhere in the Caribbean or something.
Which usually results in darker skin, right? And like white skin tone is only a result of breeding with other fucking cultures and like and colder climates and stuff. So is that racist to say that to assume that they would be a culture or race of black people?
No, I don't think that's bad. Like I think they could be from all over the place. You know what I mean? So I think that's fine. We can be left to infer that, as you say, that it'd be somewhere like at least somewhere that started on the African continent and like which happened. So like
I think what can be said to be racist definitively of that is how they are depicted and how they are interacting, because that is definitely not a depiction that is derived from like research of tribal customs and native culture. It is a depiction based on what white explorers wrote in their journals and demeaned people by writing.
Fair.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. All right.
It is also just in terms of just the pure lore of the movie. They make a point of kind of saying that the whole island, there's a big wall like around the island, or like it's a wall / like mountainous cliffs or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a small beachy peninsula. So this whole civilization exists on like a little peninsula
in a little
on
village,
this island, in this little village. That's it. Which is
good fishing, I guess.
Good fishing.
Big fish.
Big fish.
Oh, that's funny. I never even thought about where they'd get their food from. That's hilarious.
Well, that's the first thing Sean thinks about.
Yeah,
clearly.
Honestly, yeah.
Because Sean was born to be a fisherman.
But the treatment of Anne, is that her name? Anne, right? The prop?
Yes, and Darrow,
I think so.
yeah.
And Darrow, my goodness, is just like, it drove Miranda crazy. She like just was like the damsel in distress meter was off the charts.
Yeah.
She just screams and faints. Oh my God, immediately.
She touches an apple, is accused of theft, and then fucking the worst actor in the history of man playing Carl Denham.
Oh my God.
Like she swoons and he catches her, and then he kidnaps her to a restaurant where he says, "I'll put you in my movie. Meet me at a boat tomorrow morning."
And was she supposed to be homeless? What was her deal? Why was she?
She's a street youth, just like the homeless. So there's another connecting factor: young homeless people. Yeah,
just a perfectly put together street youth.
Yeah.
With makeup,
with eyes that I will say when they lit up and like squeaked their squeaky eyes at me, I swooned and was putty. So that they achieved their purpose.
So you proved Carl Denham right, that they just need a pretty face to look at. Is that what you're saying, Sean?
I'm saying this movie is a 5 out of 5 for me. I will.
And they did their best also to get her undressed. I didn't realize how much they were. They had King Kong pull clothing off of her.
Yeah.
Like
in what I can assume is the 1933 equivalent of
like full frontal nudity.
like
Yeah,
full
yeah.
frontal nudity. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's really rough. And then they have the love interest, Jack, as well.
Oh my God, that's
he's
my
the guy that hits her in the
favorite.
face.
Yes.
And then later,
He's like, I guess I love you.
he's like, yeah, I guess I love you. And her response is, but Jack, you hate women. And he's like, yeah, I know, but you ain't just women.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what?
And I think there was also the other line, it ain't a woman's fault she gets in the way.
That's what he says to her after he punches her in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After she gets hit, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't see you there," and she's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have been there."
And he's
What
like,
the
yeah.
fuck?
He's like, yeah. Women on ships are terrible. You should go under deck.
Yeah.
It's oh
I
man.
was also wondering if King Kong was symbolism for their desire to fuck, because he says I love you and then they kiss, and like in that scene she goes from like lost damsel to like fuck me eyes, and
She really does.
yeah. And so the kiss, and then he's called down below, and you can tell like, oh, they want to be together, but they can't until they're married. So she gets kidnapped, and they unleash King Kong. King Kong runs around. That's their desire to have sex. King Kong dies, and then they get married afterwards so they can have sex.
But then by that logic, wouldn't the death of King Kong also symbolize the death of their sexual appetite for each other?
Quite possibly. See, this is just my first year film
Wait,
studies thesis.
is King Kong
Right.
his penis?
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think King Kong is her penis.
Oh yeah, that makes more
Also
sense.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the symbolism. I didn't honestly watch this movie looking for much symbolism.
Right.
I just looked at it like I was surprised how much it's really like a classic like action flick. Like this movie is essentially a Fast and Furious movie from the 1930s. Or when you watch like the new, I haven't seen them, but like the new Godzilla movies, you're like, yeah, that's essentially what they were trying to do then. They were trying to do like a spectacle, like a spectacle blockbuster. And even I've seen the remake, the Peter Jackson remake, and it was actually kind of cool watching this movie sometimes. I mean, like, wow, he actually really, like, they really tried to make, like, it really was a remake in a lot of ways.
Apparently Peter Jackson owns one of the
Original models of
one
King
of
Kong.
the original models. Yeah, I was gonna. This is like the culmination of a long line of, they called them jungle films, which were all films about like white explorers and their love interests discovering ancient treasures and civilizations in the jungle and then having to escape, kind of thing. So, but I think this I call this Avatar 1933 because it is a bare bones nothing script with special effects that probably were like insane.
Yeah, must have blown people's minds. And is actually like so distant from how movies are made now that it was kind of cool to watch.
It reminded
you wanted to groan on it, but sometimes it was like, oh, that was really creative, like what they did.
The whole action sequence reminded me, honestly, of like my cousin and I used to make stop motion Lego films when we were young.
Oh, that's
like
so lame.
little like it's fucking dumb. But and I like watching that. I was like, oh, I know how they set this shot up because I was 6 once and I had a camera. Yeah.
So you're saying this movie was made by like 6 and 7 year olds?
I'm saying I, at the
Half
age
of
of
the
6,
movie.
had the technology in my
Right.
living room that it took a studio of artists to do in this film.
Right. That doesn't make sense. That's how technology does work, is that eventually 6-year-olds get the technology that like the best filmmakers had.
Yeah, and now we all carry it around in our fucking pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All these
no
movies
kidding.
made on iPhones and stuff.
What I thought was funny was looking at the opening credits and seeing that the entire movie was made with like 12 people. And then you compared it like the Peter Jackson credits where it's like 300 people to do the same story.
Oh yeah. Way more than that. It's like thousands and thousands of people. Yeah, because it's like a few choice animators just like going through and like artists making these molds and then putting together the stop motion. Like you don't need thousands of people doing like 30 seconds of CGI.
I like when they offered to sell her.
No, they didn't.
No,
they refused the offer.
They
Sorry,
rejected the offer to sell her.
Yeah.
When the chief was like, "I'll trade you 5 of my women for that one."
Yeah.
It was very
the director's
convenient.
Like,
he was like, and then they walked away. He tipped his hat and whistled like Gene Kelly as they walked away. There's so many weird things in this movie.
His hat did look pretty cool though when he did that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sure. I saw that and I was like, I'm gonna pull that off one day.
You got to sport it next week.
Yeah. Do it.
My dream to own a hat like that.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones hat.
I'm trying to like think what this movie was. It kind of has 3 weird acts. Like, there's like the journey to the jungle. There's the jungle, and the jungle is like truly a shift to like mayhem.
It's the jungle part was fascinating.
It was fascinating.
I
to
was
watch.
gripped because no one was saying terrible lines, and even though the animation was rough by our standards, it was still fascinating to see how they put it all together.
Yeah, and then it cuts to the city, right? And then it goes from like jungle to city, like almost like on a dime. Like it's actually quite a hard shift. Whereas the shift from the city to the island is quite cool. One of my favorite scenes is them arriving in the fog. Probably my favorite scene actually in the whole thing was them arriving in the fog. And there was this really great kind of tense, kind of nervous music that was playing. And they had the sailor who was dropping the plumb line down to check to see how much the land was rising underneath the water, so they knew they were getting closer to land. And as they were describing, like talking about what they might find there and preparing for it and stuff, and I was like, this is a good scene.
The first one so far.
The first one so far. The first scene of the actual movie is atrocious. I'm just
my God, it's
5
like
men meet in a room and are like, well, I need a broad. So you like broads, eh? Like.
I wrote that this was like a second-year theater school scene study that I was watching for that scene.
It was rough. And Sean, can you or Dan or anyone else clarify what? So Denham, who wants to make this film, right? He knows that there's something interesting on the island. He's acquired it through these crazy circumstances.
A Norwegian ship, the survivor of a Norwegian ship saw the island.
2 perfect maps.
Yes, and brought those maps and sold them in Singapore to Carl Denham when he was last there. Yeah.
So, but he doesn't know that King Kong is there. He just knows that something is there.
He does know that because
he knows something.
He talks about Kong. He talks about Kong
ahead of time. He's like, have you guys heard of Kong? And they're like, yeah, it's some native myth or something, isn't it? And he's like, well, it's there or something.
You are acting it better than he did. So,
but I think he says something more along the lines of that, like there must be some truth in it, or like there's.
Because the ship went down, that Norwegian ship disappeared, and he's like, that guy was the last sailor of it. Yeah,
it's just like it's a flimsy premise, but it's hard to. Maybe they're trying to be sneaky about it. Like maybe he heard more than he actually was telling people, because he's clearly hiding things, right? Like he's not telling the crew.
That's what those gas bombs are for.
Yeah.
And that's in that scene, he delivers that line and then turns around and walks through the door, and he full on stops in the door because he thinks the shot is done, and just before they cut away. And then the next scene is him with the camera filming her for the test. And I thought, like, oh, that's sloppy. He stopped in the door, and now the camera's in shot. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. They were doing their best.
Yeah.
So that's all I can really think about in terms of the story of King Kong. They go there, they push through this tribe to get access to the jungle. They're overwhelmed in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Women aren't people.
Women aren't
King Kong
people.
likes the white woman because she's the beauty, which also they kept saying too much.
Was beauty killed the beast.
Yeah, twas beauty. There's your angle, boys.
What a way to butcher a good final line of your film.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
I bet in the 30s that line fucking killed. I bet people were quoting that for fucking months.
I know it just because I've never seen this film before, but I knew that's how this film ended. I didn't realize it was ended by that bad of an actor.
I mean, it's weird when Jack Black said it better.
Yeah, right.
Jack Black is a good actor. I will
I
not
know.
let you say anything different.
Sure.
I mean, he's kind of a bad actor. That's why he's
No,
amazing.
he's made a career of like shitty roles somehow
Yeah.
and like
Right.
being over the top. But I rewatched, I know this is not in any way relevant to what we're talking about, but I rewatched Jumanji recently, and he's like the star of that fucking movie. And not
Oh, the
because
new
he's
one.
the new one. No, the Robin Williams one. He's one of the elephants.
Yeah. I don't know. He
But,
pops up in 90s films.
He does. Anyways, I like Jack Black. Jack Black, if you're listening, big fan. You're
Come
welcome
on the show
anytime.
with Carrie.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah,
that'd be an
Jack Black.
awesome
If you
episode.
know Carrie Elways,
Yeah. You can
Send
both
him.
Come on.
You stay home.
please pass it along. I mean,
I-
Jack Black has much better chance of coming on the show.
Yeah.
We should
Well,
get Jack
maybe.
Black on the show too. Jack, if you're out there, we love you,
If
buddy.
anyone famous
Black.
wants to come on the show, I mean, open
Let's not
invitation.
say that. There's a lot of famous people I would not care to talk to.
Yeah.
True. I will say that I was legitimately moved twice, I think, in this film. The first time was when they just slaughtered that Stegosaurus because it was
why?
in their way. And the second time was at the end before he picks her up to have one last creepy stare at her and before falling off the building and dying. I was like, oh, he didn't want to be here. Poor Kong. He wants to be back in the jungle. And then he's a pervert. And I was like, oh, okay.
He wasn't a pervert. He's a fucking animal. What,
Yes.
what do you
Yes.
What do you want, man? He's being as gentle as he possibly can.
Yeah.
And so
but yes,
that's pretty
I agree.
clear. What's the end like moral of MVP though?
That chimps can do anything they put their minds to.
It's like the opposite moral. It's like they're better off in the city.
Yeah.
They get jobs here. Like, were they paying the chimp to be on the hockey team? Did he have a contract?
I doubt
He
it.
must have, yeah.
Well, I guess he would have.
I
I liked how nonchalant the other players were, and like, "Hey, Jack, you want to go out after the game? You want?" And he's just playing poker. No, he's playing Go Fish with poker chips.
Yeah, when they really reinforced that, it's like I was like, oh right, it's a kids movie. This movie is
Right.
for kids.
When the guy
Because,
goes on a milkshake bender and then all the hockey players are playing Go Fish
like
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with
and
poker
drinking
chips.
like apple juice.
All the
Yeah.
hockey players stay at the arena after the game is done.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
place
was
to be.
going to say, I think the moral is more along the lines of if you run away from your orphanage and befriend a stranger, you'll eventually find a new home as long as you break all the rules.
Yep.
You
Agreed.
will eventually get the other half of Home Improvement
Yeah.
to be
Who?
your
We'll
dad.
get to that. Yeah.
I will say, I know where you're going, Sean. I will say I was very sad to see him in this movie,
Yes.
knowing that he came out of like a pretty good career at Home Improvement, and that I had to just assume that he was in a much worse off place having
Had
to
a
do a
mortgage
movie
to
like
pay.
this. Yeah,
He's in Pen 15. He's quite good in Pen 15. Only in a few episodes, but he's good.
Pen
well, I'm
15.
glad that he's back on his feet.
Yeah. A great show. Citizen Kane versus recommends Pen 15. Our first recommendation.
What?
I mean, Jack and I don't know what that show is, but we'll have to take your word
Yeah,
for
Pen
it, I
15,
guess.
Pen 15 is penis.
It's also a TV show. Yeah.
If you say so.
Yeah.
Well, on that,
That's the end of
wonderful
round
note-
one.
End of round here.
Penis.
Here.
Penis.
So
Fuck you, Sean.
that's our second filter for listeners there. So next round. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good.
Fight.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the simple answer for me is one yes, one no.
I mean, so okay. One has an amazing stunt monkey.
Yep.
All right, that like it could
Daniel,
it could coast
if
on
you
a skateboard.
badmouth
can you?
Jack the chimp, I will reach through the screen and smack you.
He
I'd like to
was
see you try.
he was carrying this movie nonetheless. Like
Yeah.
as an
Best
unspeaking
actor.
animal, best actor in the movie, and undoubtedly carrying the film.
I think both of those things are wrong.
In the
I will
looks,
s-
though.
Sure. I will say that it was great to see a monkey that can ride a skateboard better than I can. Kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Yep.
But I mean, looks good. I don't know. If
I
that
mean,
means
as a visual
movie
catch.
look good. Yeah, it's cool to watch a monkey on a skateboard for a little
That's
while.
all I'm saying. Yeah.
And then the rest of it is like kids on a skateboard and like people kind of playing hockey
In
like
pretty generic lighting.
in like the most poorly
Oh, yeah.
choreographed ice hockey scenes I've ever seen in a movie ever in my life.
Dreadful.
I think
Yeah.
choreographed is a stretch because usually like you could never see, like you never watched a pass being made.
No. I think they just reacted to what the chimp was doing.
Yeah, mainly.
Filmed that.
Like it was all very close. You never saw anything wide shot or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, and there was a couple of shots where you see a guy take a slap shot from like 4 inches away from the net. And I was like, these people have never seen a hockey game before.
The goalie's like 6 feet out.
Yeah. Or the time the goalie just like leaves the net to come score the game-winning goal just because.
Yeah.
I missed that. I must have been in like Dreamland. Is that the like end of movie game-winning goal?
No,
it's
just a random
in their
game.
montage of wins. The punk rock goalie.
I went to the
comes out.
bathroom a few times, so maybe I missed it then. Yeah.
Mm.
I will say that this movie loses most of its looks points for pants on hockey players.
It's very silly.
Yeah.
But what a
It's
handsome hockey player.
offensive. Sure, yeah, they were good looking men, I guess.
Just like the main guy. Like the most
the
like
main guy.
classically.
Oh, Poirer. I think his name was
Oh,
Poirer.
The what is supposed to be like the main villain at the beginning of the movie, but who quickly has a change of heart after seeing a picture of Jack with his brother.
And
has
seeing is like an understatement. He like sees it and then he like slowly walks to it and then he takes it off the wall and he sits back down and then he stares at it.
Yeah.
It's like a very long sequence. And then like obstacle removed. Friends with the chimp, goes on a milkshake bender with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really fascinating.
I would like to. I wonder what his game the next day would be like after drinking 5 milkshakes.
Probably very slow.
Just
It would've been-
It's
just,
the
like,
worst
throwing
cramps
up.
ever. Yeah.
The monkey starts eating it. Like, this is hockey now.
yeah.
But that's really all that can be said about this movie. Like, it is pretty lazily shot. None of the skateboarding is good. It's a lot of repeated shots, actually, like the same trick, whether it be from a human or from the chimp, just from like different angles and stuff like that.
The final skateboarding thing is done against a green screen or something, I think. At the end when they're standing on the like together receiving the applause, there's a lot of weird like green screen stuff going on, so I that brought into doubt exactly who was skating for the final battle.
There is the masterfully shot sequence of Jack whipping up some pancakes in the morning.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
And poor Richard Karn is sitting there like, I need to pay my mortgage. I need to pay my mortgage.
I was like, what a good sport.
Yeah.
Like,
Really though, yeah. I
he
think
is
that-
here to make this movie, and he's gonna do his job.
I wondered if like the orphan kid in the movie was like his nephew or something, and he was just doing somebody a favor.
I don't know, man. Because the newspaper owner or the printing owner guy,
The
Oh,
guy
yeah.
he's
from
an actor, right?
The guy
Yeah,
from
he's been
Oliver
in a lot of
Twist.
stuff.
Yeah,
The-
Fagin.
yeah, the chimney
He's
sweep.
like, right, oh, we got a bunch of papers for you to deliver. If you
Yeah.
do it before 5, there's an extra tip in it there for you. And I was like, what is happening?
I was unclear as to what his business was. He was just he was
prints
paying him to.
things.
Is the
But-
flyer printing guy.
Yeah,
But
I guess
it
he
is-
also distributes them. I
Does he
guess
also
he's
have
a
to put the
printing-
flyers up?
He's a printing and distribution guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta.
Who's from the Mary Streets of London?
Okay, so if his entire job is just printing flyers and paying small children to put them up, why is he so dirty?
Because he's Fagin.
Because they literally
he's-
just put a character from Oliver in this.
Yeah.
He,
The little orphan boy who has only one model to look up to, and it's this greasy old English guy.
yeah. Who's covered in like ink, I guess. He got like
guess.
ink all over him.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my notes for this movie right now, and one of them is just Sean, I hate you.
Oh, buddy, I can read you 9 or 10 of those from my backlog.
But this Fagin character is a good example, though, of also like the lack of obstacles in this movie, where like kid shows up to the shop, opens the door, and who we would just call Fagin is like, "Oi, you were supposed to be here an hour ago," and the kid's like, "Oh, sorry," and he's like, "That's all right," and then they just like carry on, which is like a lot of the movie. Anyway, it doesn't do anything with looks, but just something to mention.
Yeah, but this also isn't looks. I guess he's looking at, because I thought the kid couldn't read, because in the first like it says post no bills, and the cop's like, "Can't you read that?" And he's like, "I don't know what it means." I was like, "Oh, he can't read." And then he's looking at the skateboarding poster, the like very like that looks like I'd say that is the most successful look of the film, is what they did with that poster, because you could identify it from scene to scene. And he's looking at it, and they're like, "Are you going to the competition?" And he's like, "What?" And I was like, he can't read the poster, shit. And then they dropped that, so I guess he could read. I don't know.
I think he was just like not putting the pieces together. I think he's the kid who doesn't know what the word bills mean. Yeah, like if I think back when I was like 8, I wouldn't know what post no bills means. Right. I'd be like,
he's an orphan street kid who has to focus on more important things than reading signs on walls.
Yeah, he's a really cool orphan.
I thought
he's got to survive, man.
I thought we were going to get a really good "I can't read" plot line out of this, and so
that would have been my favorite if Jack actually instead just taught the kid to
read. I wanted Jack to adopt him in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that would be beautiful. Also, there was definitely a kid, like, I remember watching Most Valuable Primate, the first one, a few times when I was a kid. There was definitely like a protagonist young child in that film. What happened to him?
He grew up, probably.
Grew up.
Was torn apart by the chimps.
I think my favorite thing to do with looks is the scene in this movie where the kid, I forget his name. What was the kid's name? Ben? Tom?
Homeless kid.
Ben. It was Ben.
Was it Ben?
Ben Johnson or something.
We'll call him Ben.
Ben. Yeah, Ben Johnson. Yeah.
He's sitting in the alley after he's realized that the cop has found his like hideout. And he has his like heartfelt monologue to Jack about how they're going to get split up, and he's like, going to have to go back to the orphanage. And he's almost in tears. And every time they cut back to Jack, not only is he like totally dead faced, but his mouth is just, his jaw's like on the ground. Yeah.
It's like his lip is like hanging a foot down. Like,
yeah. And there's just like no movement or anything in his face.
And that's so indicative of the whole movie, of like visually what you look at is like one person acting weirdly, clearly to no one.
Yeah.
And then cuts to just
a monkey with brain damage.
Chimp that doesn't understand or care.
And they didn't even attempt to make it look. It's supposed to be in Seattle, so they had the Seattle that needle tower thing.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end, when they're leaving the arena after the final championship game, when they win the not Stanley Cup, there's a wide shot of them walking past the arena, and it just says Vancouver Canucks on the poster, and there's a guy in a Vancouver jersey on the banner. Guys.
Oh my God.
I'll say this also in terms of looks, I guess. We talk about the depiction of kind of black people and other ethnicities in King Kong. There were essentially no people of color in all of MVP. It was almost entirely 100% white. And I was like, okay, it is a movie about hockey and skateboarding in Seattle, but still, we finally spotted some people in the background. In one of the hockey scenes, there was like one black woman cheering, but like truly, this movie is like one of the whitest movies I've ever seen in terms of like not even anyone in the background.
But I mean, that is a good point though, that about it being a movie about hockey and skateboarding, two of like the whitest in Seattle, like two of the whitest sports to ever be played or participated in.
Yeah. But like still,
yeah,
it's pretty rough. Whereas at least there were like black people in King Kong, sort of.
Like, hopefully they were paid in 1933.
Like, hopefully they were
pre-code.
paid.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So let's talk about the looks though of King Kong. So they had a lot of these shots where it was all like stop motion of these like clay like I don't know what they were, but like
They were made of like rubber and latex and steel. They had Sean, I think you and I both read the same Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
But they had like different models made of different things for different scenes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I thought it was claymation too. I think that the humans might have been clay. But the animals were like a combination of different shit.
I think they made two different sizes of the like full-bodied ape maquette that could be like moved around stop motion style. They made two arms, different arms that you just see coming in to like grab at him. I guess
because he crushes some people in the village as he's breaking out.
Right, yeah. So there's the foot, and then they made the face that.
I thought that was a person in a gorilla mask. I will say the close-ups.
It's like a big animatronic face. It was big enough that they could have someone lie in its mouth.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's when I learned that it wasn't a person.
It was a 2-person operated like lever, pulley, and air pneumatic. Like giant puppet. So like these two guys were in there just like
with like no direction or practice.
Yeah.
So his face is just like like it's a mess.
It's very bizarre. But I'm sure I tried to pretend I was in a movie theater in 1933 watching this for the first time after hearing someone say like, you have to go see this film because you'll think you're in the jungle. And in the moments that I could drop into that, I fully was immersed in what they were doing.
Yeah, there were some moments that I was really impressed by, even by like today's standards. Like the art direction for all the stuff just outside the wall, like during the tribal ritual.
Yeah.
Oh my!
And all that stuff.
That
was fucking super cool.
They built such crazy stuff for this movie. Like the fact that they built those, like they built big doors and a big giant beam across them, and like all that, like they built a big wall.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah,
but it was like, I mean, it made such a difference to see that, and they had these big shots in general, like the actualization of this tribe's village and that wall and stuff. It was all like they just built it, and it looks pretty great.
Yeah.
And then they must have built a whole bunch of jungle sets too, which I can only imagine to be a nightmare, unless they went and filmed in the jungle. But I don't think they did, because they had to be filming in studio, because they were using like projections and stuff, right?
Yeah. So some of those shots, So there were some of the shots were projected from behind. And Daniel, hop in because you probably know a lot more. I tried to understand the Wikipedia page for how they filmed this. But so they had projections, and then the actors in front looking at them with like set in there, and then some were ones where they like shot on the same film. They recorded on the same reel of film. So they would do like her like and then being like picked up, and then they would film on the same piece of actual film. They would film like his hand coming out and grabbing her, and then they'd film it over top of it so that it looked like he was coming and grabbing her. Does that make sense, Daniel? Is that right?
That sounds right. I mean, I guess like the modern day equivalent of that would be like shooting the same space twice and then just like layering them on top of each other digitally. So I guess like I've never heard of someone doing that with film. I didn't know you could do that, but that makes sense hearing you describe it. Yeah.
And
which is like super innovative. Like a lot of the stuff in a lot of the gorilla stuff looked comically bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for what they were trying to achieve, I was like awestruck for a lot of it. I mean, and even with the gorilla stuff, the only time that I was ever really disappointed was just like the close-ups when he wasn't doing anything, kind of just like reacting to things. But when he was fighting or climbing or all that, like, or he was like shaking the big tree
The
and like
log.
knocking them. Yeah, and also
Great.
just making the choice to just like drop life-sized dummies and just watch them like hit the ground was super
it's effective.
impactful. Yeah.
Also, I think the most effective part for me was when he's fighting the T-Rex, and he's got him down, and he's grabbing his jaw, and he's struggling to, and you're watching, you're watching the struggle, and you can tell it's claymation and maquettes and stuff like that, but you're so invested with him prying his jaw open, and then when he finally snaps it, you're like, oh God, oh, it's so uncomfortable.
And that kind of hits on two things that one of the two things that I would say I really appreciated, like little efforts they made. And the first one that I'll relate to what you said, Sean, is just like the commitment of the filmmakers to what their visuals were is what really helped it for me. Like that it wasn't like they were trying to like hide, like some films you see now where it's like the effect they're trying to be like, like don't, like don't, like, hopefully we fooled you, like, whereas this is it. That's Kong, and he's fighting that dinosaur, and you're gonna watch that for 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like that's Kong. Like get used to that. Like that's what it is. That's how our film looks.
Stegosaur charge straight at the screen.
And,
and then suddenly it stops. Ooh.
Yeah, and the other thing that was quite cool that was a great bit of creativity on the part of the filmmakers, just to like help blend the two worlds, because there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of these two things that needed to be made into one movie, and they would do things like with the Stegosaurus, for example, it like turns around, or it might have been another animal or dinosaur or something, but I think it was Stegosaurus. It like turns around and its tail like swings across like close to them, and they had the real bushes that were put in front of the screen get moved.
Yeah.
At the same time, as though it was the tail that moved it in a way that was really like well done. And it was just like a great, like they did little stuff like that really made a difference. In making
the scene,
it seem less schlocky.
When they're walking, it might be the same scene. They think they've killed the Stegosaurus, and they're walking, and it's clearly them on a conveyor belt in front of the projector, and that started. And I went, oh no, this is gonna be bad.
That one's
but
rough.
what is being projected is fascinating. So I completely forgot about how schlocky it looked in front, and it was really effective.
Because the stop motion is incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be said. Like the stop motion is unbelievable. It's not realism, but it's incredible artistry put into that stop motion of like pretty intense like fight choreography, like way more than I thought.
And like a lot of
really,
it, like a lot of fight scenes. Yeah.
And like really interesting design of these different beasts that are on the island and how they fight with Kong and how they move in their unique ways. And yeah, it was fascinating.
Fascinating, yes. Although I was unclear as to why a giant gorilla exists on an island with what seems to be exclusively dinosaurs. Movie. Okay, movie. Right. Sorry, I forgot. All right, never mind.
Movie.
Fuck me.
I like how they describe him as being as tall as a house in this film. And in the current incarnation, he's big enough that he is going to fight Godzilla in the next incarnation of Kong that we're going to see.
Right. Well, I mean, that's because is it the same Kong as Kong Skull Island? Because he's like a skyscraper in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting bigger all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looks.
Yeah. End of round here.
Penis.
I was going to say that.
I know you were. I knew you were.
No.
So next round. Sounds good. Sounds good. A little bit to talk about in these movies. They both start with a resounding overture.
Yeah.
That's for sure. King Kong actually with like a 6-minute freeze frame, which I skipped through half of.
I did not.
I knew you wouldn't. Of where the screen just says overture. Which
it went on for so long that I actually thought that I had like found a version that was just this, that was just the score. Yeah.
Yeah. And the opening overture for MVP is actually like a pretty nice piece of music. It's like quite a, yeah,
I don't remember it.
It's a decent.
I forget every sound note from that movie entirely.
It was well made enough that I was like, oh, they're really putting a lot into the music. Like they're really gonna have to use the music to sell it.
They repeated
and then the rest of the music,
right? Yeah,
it's like a real overture. It was nice. And then the rest of the music is like the most generic, stock, inspirational
early
music.
2000s.
And like put it really weird levels with like like there's like hockey going on and people are talking and there's weird like like, and it's not leveled well, that you just get this kind of blur of stuff happening that you're like, yeah, okay, the chimp won games. Okay. Great. So
I mean that's all that I have to say about that movie, really.
Yeah.
Let me see.
That's it. What? Yeah. What?
For MVP, I understands. I just have lame, late 90s, early 2000s pop punk, and then the orchestra stings are lame. Okay, so 2 lame notes, I guess, for that. Whereas for Kong, I listened to the whole overture, lol, which I will say, like that overture is banging by the end. So when the movie started, I was like, ooh, yeah, all right. Love this opening theme already. I love the score.
I just never thought I'd hear the word banging used
for that
banging.
It was
describe that overture.
That overture is not a bop. All right.
The only real negative for the sound I have is the screams, because the screams can stop any goddamn time.
Oh my god.
Well, and the screams were like blowing out the microphone every single time that she did it, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I thought generally the score for it was really effective. Like the one that there's 2 things that really stuck out to me. One is a positive, one is a negative. The positive is I remember just the kind of swelling drum beat as they're approaching the island, and just
that's drums.
Yeah, but just like this like growing sense of dread that is really accomplished by the kind of swell of the music. I thought was really, really cool. But on the flip side, I was confused by the choice to just cut out the sound altogether during what is supposed to be these like epic fight scenes. I don't know if you guys realize, but like during the fight with the first dinosaur and
with the
during
T-Rex.
the climactic with the T-Rex,
and
during the fight
quiet.
with and during the airplane scene on the skyscraper, there's no music. It's just the sounds, which I thought was really weird.
But the plane sounds are pretty fucking great in that moment.
Yeah, but if you're gonna fill a movie with music,
orchestral music,
with a great score, why would you take it out in a moment that's like begging for it?
Yeah, true. I kind of liked it with the T-Rex. It was interesting. It really, again, it was like this commitment of like, this is the movie at this moment. Like that's it. It's just this thing happening. But I agree, it probably would have improved with the scoring that was good. Well, I don't know why they wouldn't
either. If the T-Rex fight hadn't gone on like 3 minutes too long, I'd maybe agree with you.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's a combination of just being dragged out and having no sound that made me angry. Not angry, but
it goes on long enough that you're like, okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get him down.
Yep.
And then it's the repetition. Like the Stegosaurus was cool and was sad because they just mercilessly killed it. Yeah. And then shot it in the eye. Fucking brutes. And then
they had the long neck dinosaur.
The long neck. Also, Stegosaurus and the Brachiosaurus were herbivores. So I don't understand why you're doing that. But
made no sense.
So and then the Kong murders the Brachiosaur, right? The long neck.
Yes.
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 All right. And then he kills T-Rex. And by that point, you're like, okay. But then there's also like a worm that's trying to get our male love interest when he's hiding from Kong. And then there's like the worm. There's the Star Wars garbage pit monster that is in the cave that he kills. And then there's the Pteranodon that flies in to try and eat her. So all of these like by like him returning to the cave and having to fight off the snake monster, I was done with monster fight.
Well, and
Yeah.
he's also killing them all the same way, right?
Yeah.
He's like going for the neck, he breaks the face, and then he has that final moment of like checking to make sure it's dead and having like the flimsy muscle of the neck go around, and then he puffs his chest, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, very repetitive.
Yeah, for sure.
I loved it.
That probably is all we need to say about sound. Yeah.
Sounds-
Yeah. Then end of round here. Penis. So, fourth round. Act good. Acts good. This is a tricky one.
This is a hard one.
Because
Oof. I think Jack wins Best Actor for both films, to be honest.
Shut
kind
the
of.
fuck up, Sean. No, he doesn't. No, he fucking
he
doesn't.
was the only character that made me feel anything. There was that one moment where he like looked sad in
Yeah.
a car at some point, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I felt sad. I
I thought Richard Karn was really good in a nothing role.
Yeah, in like a kids
Um,
movie role.
Yeah.
I actually found him to be the best. I think he takes Best
Sure,
Actor for
absolutely.
both movies.
For comedy's sake, it's
We should
Jack,
let him
though.
know.
Yeah.
He might need
Richard
it right now.
Karn, if
At
you're
Richard
listening,
Karn.
yeah,
come on the
we
show.
love you. If you want to do our podcast, we'd love to have you on.
In our comparison between King Kong and MVP2, you were just named Best Actor.
Yeah, under
So
the
if
monkey.
if you want to accept your
Best
award,
human actor.
best you were named Best Human Actor. Please come on to accept your award. Okay, that's good. We'll get the Twitter going with that one. That's maybe
Yeah, sure
funny.
we will.
We will.
Yeah.
We have people
but
working on it.
But for acting, I mean, like I have to assume that by like 30s standards, these actors were
Sure.
acting
Whatever.
good.
They had a stage
know.
script.
It's bad.
that they were saying.
It's
yeah, dreadful.
Yeah, it's all pretty rough.
Just
The first scenes in particular of them in
Oh.
New York are just all bad in every
Real
way.
bad. I did like Skipper though. I thought the Skipper was good.
Sure.
Yeah.
He had like things to do. Otherwise, everyone else was just like, well, I guess I'm the love interest, so I gotta talk like this, and oh well, I guess I'm the movie producer, so I gotta talk like this.
What about the performance of Charlie the cook when he said, "Me no see, Clazy Brackman been here." Any points for acting for that?
I think the whole movie loses points for that.
I think he also said at one point, like I think he literally said "me no likey." Like I think it was
did.
like that level
He did
of
indeed.
fucking unbelievable.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Just him standing there with the. He also had a little monkey like chained up on the boat, which I didn't.
Yeah, the
What?
little the little capuchin
Yeah.
monkey. Yeah.
The little
I didn't see
capuchin.
that.
Yeah.
He's only in like one scene. They're all looking over the side. He's on his shoulder. Like it's hard to watch these, but but these are the scenes where I was laughing the hardest because it's so bad.
Yeah.
So like I was legitimately enjoying myself, even though it was shit.
Yeah, I would say that King Kong wasn't making me like laugh at it in really many places.
Yeah.
I would kind of groan in more places if I'm being honest in King Kong, but it also had moments that I was like genuinely interested in like art for a
Yeah.
bit. Whereas MVP gave me more times where I was like just laughing at that movie and I had a fine time just laughing at it. It's short enough that I could do that. That's kind of how I went with these two movies. Anyway, this is detracting from acting, but yeah, there's not really much acting in these movies. They're not actor focused.
There's a lot of like bad acting.
I
in
thought
these movies.
Bob Burnquist did a really terrible job.
Yep.
Who's that?
Yep. He was the skateboarding.
Because they couldn't
guy.
get Tony Hawk to come in the movie.
Oh
so they got,
yeah.
So they
That
got
guy.
they got Bob
Oh,
Burnquist.
he was real bad. Never heard of him.
Yeah, I just know of him because of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1.
Sick.
That's it.
And he's like the first one you unlock or something, or
I think
I
he's
think
like
he
a stock player.
I think he's
Okay,
like already
okay.
unlocked.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was exceptionally bad. I thought the GM was terrible.
Oh, dreadful.
And the choice to do like that weird voice down here for the
Yeah.
whole thing was
It's
odd.
a caricature for sure.
Was that also the GM or was that the other coach?
No,
He's
he was
the
the
GM.
GM.
The other
He was the
coach of the LA Carjackers, and they all
Right.
had Bluetooths in their ears. I thought
Okay.
I did enjoy that portrayal.
Yeah, the counter coach was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a horrible shot of him like falling over his players as he like sort of spits his gum out or something. That was just like
Right.
very bad. I thought the GM was pretty terrible, but like at least I think got the memo that he was in a kids movie and just kind of like made a choice that was fitting to a kids
Yeah.
movie, I guess. I liked his line when after they won their first game and he just went, champagne, champagne, as he poured champagne for suddenly like this group of young women around him. Like that was funny. That was a genuine laugh for me.
I liked the Russian guy that's always eating hot dogs
Swedish.
on the ice. Swedish? Was he Swedish?
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
Swedish
what- so-
guy.
Sorry, why is the Swede eating hot dogs? Like why?
I don't know.
What it meatballs? Sure. Hot dogs?
Look, it's just a strong character choice.
He's just a big guy that likes food all the time.
It's just that
Only
like
hot dogs.
it's just that kids like hot dogs.
And hot
Who
dogs are
doesn't
good
like
for
hot
you. They
dogs?
have vitamin B,
I don't
vitamin
like hot
D,
dogs.
vitamin calcium.
Is any of that true?
That's what he
He-
says in the film. No,
I don't know.
none
I
of that
don't-
is
I
true.
don't know.
Swedish guy
I
wasn't
want a
that
hot
bad.
dog now.
Swedish guy
No, he was great.
He was actually having some fun.
Yeah, like when he, when Jack is shoving his face in the snow or in the ice, and he's like, "No, Jack, I don't want any more snow. No, Jack." or when he's saying his goodbyes to Jack at the very end, or when everyone's saying their goodbyes, and it comes to the Swedish guy, and he's just like, it's just like he was doing his lines on rewind or something.
It's kind of fun, you know.
Yeah, it was fun. The social services lady was present.
She was present.
The
Cop was bad.
The cop was dreadful. The like chimp wrangler lady was
Bad.
real bad.
Her like rehearsed sit down shot where like she got bad news and it was clearly like she's gonna be like, oh, and then sit. Well, I get, and it was like they practice. It was clearly just like a practiced thing. She wasn't good.
It's in
What
her
about-
demo reel.
What about the old man who drove Elliot,
Loved him. Loved every fucking minute of that guy.
who couldn't see well enough to know that? But like, did he
And
know
who
it was a
eventually
chimp?
let Louis drive the van.
Yeah.
Well, I think that he fell asleep and then the chimp took over.
I think that's my favorite part of the film is Louis' journey to the hockey arena to Seattle.
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoyed because he's a Canadian actor. I've seen him in a ton of stuff. He was a
Yeah.
face I recognize. I don't know his
Yeah.
name, but like he was having fun with a monkey in a van.
Bless him. Bless him in an RV,
Yeah,
a motorhome.
Yeah.
And Faye Ray, who played
Canadian.
is Faye Ray Canadian?
She is indeed.
I think I went to school with someone who was like a distant relative of hers or something. She was like named after her in part. But she didn't really get to perform in this movie, as we already kind of talked about, except scream.
No, yeah,
She had that one sequence where she was being directed that she like kind of performed at least.
Yeah. and the director definitely told her to just push her tits out a lot. Yeah.
So pretty good acting. Pretty good acting.
For a woman.
Oh,
I take that back.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying-
Let's
I'm-
not be
I'm
that
just-
podcast, Daniel.
I'm making a joke about the tone of the movie, Sean.
Yes,
It's a
okay.
meta. It's a meta thing.
It's a meta joke.
All right. Now that we've completed that third filter for all of our listeners there, I think that would make our next end of round there. So,
Penis.
Penis. So now, because we've done a couple of our next season, I remember the order of events of what we're supposed to do. We are not going to do the next thing because that's not when it happens. Our fifth round comes after our lightning round. Likes and grapes. Likes and grapes. And essentially, it's an actual lightning round now. It is 2 minutes long. And we just say things quickly that we either were a like for us in these movies or a gripe for us in these movies, and we just sling likes and gripes.
Sling it.
How ready are we? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Am I ready? I don't know.
Are you ready, Eddie?
I'm gonna be third anyway. So, let's go. Dan, Sean, me. Yeah, ready?
Dope.
3, 2, 1, go.
Grape. ADR chimp sounds as Louis runs to the house to watch the NHL draft.
Gripe, hitting your female lead in her second scene.
Gripe. Just the murderous herbivores. It bothered me every time.
Gripe. Someone got paid actual money to write MVP.
Like he thinks he's people.
Like the chasm of horrifying like bugs and things in King Kong. It's just like the remake gives me nightmares. Really well done. Pretty cool.
Liked the line, I guess I never thought about a chimp having a family.
Gripe. Oh dear, the racism.
Yep. Gripe the pacing of MVP. Just horrible.
Gripe Sean for making me watch MVP.
Double gripe, Daniel, go fuck yourself, and hockey pants.
Gripe, just the kid in MVP sucks, man. He sucks so bad. Just pounding Pepsi and Gatorade.
Gripe, I'm pretty sure that adopting a kid is pretty complicated. It would not be as easy as Richard Carnage is saying he wants to adopt him.
True.
For sure.
Like the Brachiosaurus kills.
Gripe that not only is his store named Ollie's because it's about skateboarding, but his name is also coincidentally Ollie. Gripe.
Gripe, a police officer shattering a lock by tapping it with a baton.
Gripe, deeply ingrained misogyny.
Gripe, the fact that he's like, I'll just put this skateboard out back for a payoff like 12 minutes later.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow.
No!
The last
one. We're done.
Damn it. My last one was a good one. It's fine.
Okay. Well done. It's actually a lightning round. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, it was good. That was good.
Yeah, good for us. Maybe do we do a little applause now? No, we don't. We'll save it. So now, without any further ado, we're going to get into our ratings of these movies. So first point, how do we judge round one here, judges? Story good. What do we think? This is actually kind of weird because the story of, and I vote for King Kong.
I too vote for King Kong.
Yeah.
It's flimsy, but it definitely has like thought, and there's definitely like like not an arc of the script, but like an arc of the movie. Like
Yeah.
of
I wouldn't even say it's flimsy. It gives you just enough to still kind of, it's aiming for mystery over just like lack of
Yeah.
detail.
yeah,
Which I appreciate. And
It's-
the stuff they do give you is pretty intriguing, I think.
yeah,
Its abominable script is superseded by the like themes that its shitty script is portraying.
yeah, and like
And-
execution of concept.
Yeah. And just the fact that it has things you can think about puts it above the children's film I chose to put it up against. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. So point for King Kong. Looks good.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. Looks good.
King-
Again, one, you have
Yeah.
a performing trick chimp, and the other, you have very old looking, but still strangely fascinating movie effects.
King Kong.
Yeah,
My vote
King
is
Kong.
for King Kong.
King
Me
Kong
too.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
King
King Kong.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This is not a fair portion of the podcast, guys.
Well,
Now, this one might turn the tables, you see, because on one hand, you have a score that's used throughout a movie. And on the other hand, you have like stock, like 90s jams without lyrics and stuff, just playing whenever.
So, okay, so before you give your point, I have to ask, what about that comparison seems interesting to you?
Look, I'm just trying to build tension here before I say King Kong again.
King Kong.
Yeah, let's move on. King Kong.
King Kong. And then act's
All right.
good.
Definitely MVP.
For act?
For act's
For
good?
acting. Absolutely.
Shut the fuck up.
100%.
On
No.
what grounds?
On
based on-
Richard Karn.
Richard
doing
Karn.
pretty good with that. And honestly, Jack the Chimp is fantastic.
Jack the Chimp is not fantastic in this movie.
I don't know what you have against chimps, Daniel, but
Yeah.
I'm a chimpist. He is a well-trained monkey that is not doing any acting at all. Richard
shit.
Karn, I'll give you.
he's,
What?
Jack
you
the
eat
Chimp.
shit?
Jack the Chimp did more to make me feel things than any person in King Kong.
False.
No, that's- I
the
agree.
editor did
I
more
agree.
to make you feel things with blank shots of the chimp. Than
And me
No,
and
there was
me,
one
little
shot at
Sean,
least
thought
where
it
he
was the
looked
acting.
sad.
Yeah.
You guys are fucked.
Oh, are you agreeing, Jack?
I'm agreeing with you.
You guys are fucking okay. Fine.
What
I'm
do you
gonna-
what
What do
would
you vote for,
King Kong?
Daniel?
I don't know.
Which movie's acting did you just really like more? you
Yeah.
know?
If I'm being honest, I think I have to say Richard Karn won it for me, but that is in spite of Jack the fucking Chimp.
All right, so that's a clean acting sweep for most vertical primate
Acting powerhouse.
against
acting
King Kong.
acting
Sean,
powerhouse
you're a
MVP.
real
Of course,
son of a bitch.
sweeps
I can't
that
believe
category.
that. I cannot believe that this happened.
And then we kind of go into our bonus category here, just to find out who gets it here.
Oh my God.
Rewatchability. You know, like which movie did you actually enjoy more? Which one would you watch again, given
Oh, yeah,
given
it's
you
tough.
had to?
And joy is a broad spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you just say it's tough? Did you just say that answering this question is tough for you? Like you
Oh,
don't
kind
know
of.
which one?
Yeah, because
You guys would consider watching MVP again?
All right.
I
yes.
don't really want to watch King Kong again.
No.
But if you
not
had
at
to
all.
choose, one, you would possibly
All right,
consider
so-
throwing MVP on it at any time in your life ever for
So I'm
any
going to
reason.
say MVP 2 is my
I
choice.
put on Bucky Larson probably.
Yeah. bleh.
I put on
MVP
Bucky
2
Larson before MVP. Is your choice, Kate? You better
Is
have
my
a good
choice.
explanation for this.
I don't need to watch King Kong in its entirety ever again in my life. Someday, maybe I'll have kids, and someday they're going to want to watch animal movies, and I'm probably going to let them watch the MVP trilogy because they're animal movies.
This is a lot of hypotheticals, Sean. This
Yeah,
is,
that's
this is a
bullshit,
walk.
Sean.
This
As
is a
somebody who-
real walk.
No, but I'm not going to
As-
watch any of them. Like, ideally, I never watch
all
either of
know
these.
that you're sterile, Sean. There's,
Yeah, well, that's true. That as well. I really should not have worked in that microwave factory for as long as I did. But no, like there are more plausible. I don't want to watch any of them. There are more plausible realities where I watch MVP before I watch the original King Kong. So I'm going with MVP.
I think that's bullshit. As somebody who appreciates filmmaking as much as you do and cinema history and
Sure,
all the
like,
rest
I'll
of it.
watch little bits of.
And,
I'll
like-
watch the no. Why would I watch? Why am I going to watch this again? Why am I going to watch King Kong again?
I mean, because it is actually like it's a cool situation on this podcast where it is actually like an interesting piece of cinema history, undeniably,
Sure,
and that's something that like you
absolutely.
watching it, I think, is hard to
Yeah.
deny.
Yeah.
Despite of the many flaws that it has, obviously, right? But it's like it's so
I
early.
think you're more likely to be in a room with somebody who's never seen King Kong before that you might want to show the original to than you
No,
are to
I'll
be
tell them to
have
look
a
up
child
bits
that
on YouTube.
you're dying to show MVP to.
I won't be dying to show them. I'll tell them to look up the good scenes on YouTube. I will not tell them to watch the movie.
I don't know. I
Sometimes I
could.
think you just lie on this podcast, Sean.
It's,
Sometimes I think
it's okay. He's had his moment. I would give King Kong a soft recommend to people. You know what I mean? Like if they were someone who was a bit of a videophile, I would be like, have you seen it? And they were like, no. I'd be like, it's worth checking out.
All right, but would you rewatch it?
And I would also sit and watch it with them as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my point goes to King Kong. Like
Okay.
I think it's
that's
pretty
where
clear
it has to
also
go.
that my point goes to
MVP.
Yeah.
It's a 4-1 win.
4-1 win. So the Citizen Kane of the week is again King Kong. Well done, King Kong. King Kong.
A well-deserved victory. I can't believe it lost any points at all to fucking MVP.
I lost acting.
I can't believe it lost acting.
I mean, we should have given some minus points to the kid in the acting category, but
He's rough. But
He's
like
rough.
but like Carl Denham is equally as bad.
oh, he's like more annoying for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So well done. Well done, King Kong. Fun pairing for sure. Definitely interesting to watch these two movies. Dan had a great time. I like torturing Dan. It's fun.
It is fun, isn't it?
It's a good dynamic for the podcast. I'm gonna keep that in
was-
mind as I pick my
I
movies
was
next week.
miserable watching MVP. Like miserable watching it.
I legitimately, Daniel, do not understand how you can say that about a movie with delightful monkeys and after you made us watch Bucky Larson.
Yeah, dude.
Bucky Larson is a movie that is at least intended for somebody my age. So like,
Is it?
Is it intended for any living human being?
how the very fact that we are arguing which movie is better between Bucky Larson and MVP right now blows my mind.
It's
I
gonna be a
expected
bonus
more
episode.
from both of you.
We have to do it.
It
No,
just seems,
how? Like Bucky Larson is the worst film I possibly have ever seen.
It's
you are
better than Armageddon?
insane. You are insane to say that movie is worse than MVP. MVP is not a movie. It's just a collection of like flimsy scenes to entertain a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Sure. And what is Bucky Larson? Anyways,
A collection of
that was last week's
flimsy
episode.
scenes
To
meant
entertain a
to
13-year-old.
entertain a 14 or 15-year-old.
Yeah,
And me.
exactly.
Yeah.
There
And
we go.
Daniel, yeah.
So
All right.
Whatever.
Well, next
Fuck you
week
guys.
yeah, next week we have a guest, right?
we do, and let me just share a screen, and our guest will regale us. Let me know the volume's good.
Oh goodness. Yeah, COVID haircut.
There is no volume.
There's no volume.
There's no volume. Okay, so that means I have to do something here, right?
I'm really glad you tested this out before you decided to share the screen, Sean.
Eat shit.
Can you just try an ADR over top of him as he's
Yeah,
talking?
that's what I want to hear.
Hold on. You're gonna have to cut a lot of this out. I'm gonna
I
see
can't,
what's
man. It
going
all
on.
stays.
Share sound. I gotta click that, and then I have to share. Woot. All right, and then I have to go back to the appropriate time.
Of the 5.5 minute video that he sent you?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Oh. Krona, the standard monetary unit of Iceland. Well, I knew that. Oh. Hello, Citizens Kane.
Oh, no.
My name is Brendan, and I'm thrilled to be joining you on next week's episode of the pod. I do have a bone to pick. I was perusing a few of your older episodes and noticed that you guys have a distinct lack of swords and sorcery and also historical epic content. So I propose we rectify that by doing Mel Gibson's 1995 historical epic Braveheart and pairing that up with the following year's Dragonheart, directed by some guy, starring some other people, but mostly featuring the vocal stylings of the recently departed legend of the screen, Sean Connery, who only just left us at the age of 90. I think that's going to be a really great pairing, and I propose in honor of these two leading men that we do the entire episode in our very best Scottish accents, because that would be... Pardon? Okay, well, I'm being told that Mel Gibson isn't from Scotland, so I guess that's another knock against him. I'm just going to go back to reading the dictionary.
All right.
I love how much effort he put into that. That was
Yeah. It's fantastic.
That was
I like
great,
that
yeah.
this is a thing. I think we need to encourage this.
So now guests also have to make a short skit.
yeah.
And they should all begin with someone reading and going, he should, how he didn't begin with, oh, I didn't see you there,
Yeah.
is a bit unforgivable, but I accept the rest and the offering. Absolutely.
Braveheart and Dragonheart.
That'll be fun.
Braveheart.
I've
and
never seen Braveheart
Dragonheart.
ever, so that'll be a good time.
Oh,
You've never
it's
seen
a long-
Braveheart?
No, I know it. I've never seen it because I know it's like 4 hours, right?
It's like
No,
3.
it's like 3.
Yeah.
You say that like that's not a long fucking movie.
Oh, just wait till I recommend Cleopatra.
Just
I'll
wait till we
just be, I'll
finally
be sick
do
that episode.
when we do Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, it's like 3.
It's like 4.5.
Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia is really long.
It has an intermission.
It's so good.
So great. We'll have Brendan on.
Brendan Green, for those of you that don't know him.
Brendan Green. Real friend of the pod. And yeah, I'm excited for those movies. I don't think I've seen Dragonheart. Or maybe I have.
When I was a kid, I watched it religiously.
Is that the one where they find dragons like under New York City?
No, I don't think so.
That's because you're thinking of the one with
that's
Matthew
Reign of
McConaughey,
Fire.
right?
That's Reign of Fire.
Yeah.
Which is also a wild movie that exists. Okay, great. Well, great.
Well, great.
Great.
Great. Penis.
Oh,
Damn it.
Gotcha.
Damn it. Cool. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Standout Thanos trailers or anything you want to throw out there?
I don't know. Just a stop motion Thanos would have been funny at some point.
Ooh, I think like a stop motion Christmas Thanos.
But like a Thanos that's done, like if Thanos came down and fought King Kong, but like it wasn't stop motion, it was clear just like a modern like action figure. Like that someone could probably still do that in post now. Like they could just like edit it in.
Yeah.
So if anyone has the knowledge and know how to do that and wants to dedicate, I'm guessing months to that, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think amongst our audience base, there's a wide swath of stop motion animators,
Enthusiasts and semi-professionals.
Yeah.
Well, great. Now this is podcasting. Okay. Well,
And
Dan, you can't be groaning at our own podcast.
call to action. The action.
Go, Dan. Come on. Call to
Dan,
action.
go.
Oh God. Well, thank you all for listening. If you like what you hear, feel free to like and subscribe on whatever platform you are consuming our content on. We are Citizen Kane Versus on YouTube. We are Citizen Kane Versus Podcast on Instagram, at Citizen Kane Versus on Twitter. Feel free to contact us at citizenkaneversus@gmail.com if you have any feedback or questions or suggestions for movies you want to hear compared. You can also leave comments in the comment section below if you're watching on YouTube. And rate and review also is a huge bonus for us. Whatever podcast platform you're listening on, if you can just rate and review us, that goes a long way for helping us get found in search engines and stuff like that. So we'd really appreciate it, and we love you, and thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Tell your friends about us.
Please.
All right. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah. And
Penis.
Citizen Kane penis.
vagina.